No?
Just to clarify, if I may, Madam Chair, what's being proposed is that currently, right now, there is a 24-month program for females in the ACP. As a result of the court order and the need to have a male and female program of the same length, the proposal is to have a male program and a female program, both that would operate with a maximum duration of 12 months.
Okay. And so we got the question correctly. And so what is the response for limiting everything to 12 months if it might take a little bit longer?
So for the 12 months, it would limit the application, the process, the program at this time. The department would limit that to a 12-month period at this time, and then reevaluate once we see how the offenders, especially adding the male offender, we have not had the ability yet to have this type of program or an undertaking roll out into the community. When we had started this several years ago, it was almost the same with the female offender. We weren't sure how what you might say the human behavior is out in there, and as we roll this out, it gives the department the ability to both roll this fresh program out. It's a large undertaking, as I said, with both the working with the offender, going through the I-type process, going through the individual treatment, and then getting them out there. And it just allows us to manage that progress effectively.
Okay. And why wouldn't it be more effective to have the 22 months, understanding that people can get out in 13 months or 16 months or whatever?
As the applications come through, and if they had 24 months left to do or 12 months left to do, those timeframes are in there. And we know that as you try and process through, like I said, it becomes both a utilization issue of both staffing components that we have there, processing components, but at the same time working with the families, many points that have to happen before that. And so it would just allow us to effectively manage them both out in the community, the parole supervision model out in the community, how many people are going through that process at one time.
Okay. And then, several months ago, we heard that the contractor for the Bakersfield facility was having trouble finding male inmates that wanted to be in the program. I think it's one of the questions we gave you guys to.
So before I address that question, can I respond to the LAO's recommendation for MCRP?
Of course.
I just want to reiterate, as we know, 95% of our population in our prison system will be reentering sometime after they serve their sentences. So it's critical, it's ever critical. This program is a model for us to implement so that we can provide a safe and thoughtful transition for our male population back into the community. In terms of the volunteer aspect, yes, the requirement is that they volunteer for the program, that they come from those very counties where we do have the limited beds in the community at this point. And as well as all levels are considered, all levels in the prisons are considered. We provide a list of potentially eligible inmates a year out, and we provide that to all of our correctional counseling staff, our CC3s in the institutions, to begin the screening process, and also to have that list when the inmates do come before their annual reviews, or they can approach their counselors for more information about the male community reentry program. In terms of the program only addressing low risk, what we've done is we ran our numbers of the 424 inmates that have gone through the program or are currently in the program. 77.8% are moderate to high risk. So with the majority, I would say over three quarters are meeting that threshold of moderate to high risk. In terms of for the Bakersfield, the Kern County MCRP, our numbers we continue to struggle, but I can tell you we've made great strides in terms of getting the interest of our inmate population, as well as develop some ways to mitigate that. And I can kind of give you what we've done over the last probably 4 to 5 months.
Yeah, I'm really interested in also why you would have trouble filling the beds, since we do have quite a few inmates from Bakersfield.
Right. So I think part of it is, as we've looked into this, is that we've identified some barriers, and we've alleviated those barriers. And I think probably one of the biggest barrier was education and outreach. getting the information into our prisons, informing and educating our inmate population, going out there and providing the information to the counselors about the screening criteria, the priority of the department. So we've done that over the last several months. We've conducted some town halls with inmate populations. We pulled the inmates by these counties that were eligible for the MCRP program. We also provided counseling to our counseling staff. We developed a video which has testimonials of our participants in our Kern and Los Angeles locations. The video is being shown on our housing units, on our educational channels, as well as in our visiting for families to see. We've presented this program and its priority, obviously, of the administration and of CDCR to the wardens. We met with the wardens and gave them information. We've had external stakeholders and legislative staffers that have gone out and toured. We welcome that. And we are fielding requests for tours on a weekly basis. I'm fielding phone calls from legislative staff providing information about the program and the very importance of and how valuable it is for our male population to have that opportunity to transition to the community. As well as we conduct resource fairs in our prisons where we bring community providers into our prisons to provide information about services in the communities as they begin their transition planning. It's part of our transition programs in our reentry hubs. As well as part of that, we have our parole staff that are part of that discussion and that participate in the resource fairs with our counseling staff, our community resource managers. Our MCRP program providers are also in attendance, and we've even had, what we've done is we've made arrangements with the wardens to allow for former graduates of the MCRP programs to come into our prisons to have that one-on-one talk with the inmates and say, hey, this is really a good thing. And what we found is when we talk to the participants currently in our program, as well as those that have graduated, is they had an interest, but they didn't know what to expect. It's kind of fear. Should I go? Should I give up my program that I'm doing here in the community, here in prison? But once they got there, they were very pleased and had the opportunity to reunite with their families in some cases, as well as to get connected with employment and education. So we've done a tremendous effort in getting that information out into our institutions and externally.
I appreciate that. Is the Bakersfield facility filled now, or are you still having issues?
It's slowly, we're getting it up. We're working very closely, collaboratively with the Division of Adult Institutions in developing a tracking system in our strategic offender management system so that it's readily available as they come available for their annual reviews or for their committees, that the counselors have that information. So we're really honing in those efforts. Our current count there is 24 right now as of this week.
So it's interesting because what we've heard from the women's institutions are that there's a waiting list and people complain because they can't get in. You know, as we're looking at gender specific whatever. Why is that? Is it because the women's programs have been around longer, or what?
That's what I was going to say, is that, we've been around a little bit longer for these type of programs, and not that we've had the ability to do it better. We do it differently at some points, and when I say differently, it's had the cycle. It's been able to, as Cynthia said, to get the word out there. So the women write to the other women. They let them know what the program is offering, word of mouth. And so that's what's happening now, and it begins to take that on, and they know then, okay, sometimes when you're inside the prison, that becomes what you know for that period of time, and then you don't want to do the next unknown step. And so that word of mouth really is sometimes our best. And so when we have what I call the successes, they come back and they either share that or they talk about the programs. I was lucky enough to receive a letter the other day from one of the participants who she regained custody of her. I brought the letter with me. She regained custody of her child, and the judge acknowledged the program at the CCTRP in Los Angeles County. She got 7 different certificates, and they were actually going through the process of taking away her right to her child. And so she wrote to us, and like I said, I brought the letter. I'd be happy to read it to you if you'd like, because it's so emotionally moving that once you see a success like that, there's not a price that we can put on a program success that goes that far.
Yeah, in the interest of time,
Yeah.
if you could duplicate it and give it to us,
I'd
that
be
would
happy to
probably
do
be
that.
the best.
Thank
But but I do appreciate that, and it just, maybe we should incorporate some of the things that we've done with the women's prisons, and I say that because of the anecdotal stories that we're hearing about men incarcerated in Valley State Prison, which was formerly a women's institution, and where the staff was trained using some of the gender responsive particular training for dealing with women inmates, and the men inmates are now saying, oh, the staff is so nice here, and things are, and maybe, anyway, I appreciate that you're starting something new. And
Exactly. I have, Jay and I talked to Jay, I asked for best practices. There's no sense of
Great.
duplicating it. But I do want to add also is we are getting calls from family members. They want to know why their son, they want to make sure their son or husband or father can have access to this program. We get the phone calls, we immediately respond, as well as letters from families, and we receive hundreds of letters weekly from inmates, and we respond to every one of them. And so their general questions are, I'm interested, I'd like to apply, can you send me more information? And so what we do is we forward that info, we reply in a written letter, we provide them the pamphlet, we give them the criteria, and we recommend that they meet with their counselor to make sure that they're eligible and on the list.
Great, well, thank you. And Senator Anderson, you said you had a question.
If you could address the walkaway issue. You know, we had a couple in San Diego that walked away from the facility. We've had 4 and 6 months in the men's facility. So perhaps you could walk me through how this occurs and what protections that we could potentially do to stop that.
Thank you. I can speak on the women's. We had opened about 1.5 years ago with our CCTRP programs, and we've had the 2 walkaways. They occurred together. 2 women decided that they were going to walk away, and they are ankle monitored. So in other words, they have and so we knew the moment, pretty much the moment that it had happened, and so we did an alert. They were returned. And with that being said, you know, we do conduct a full review of what the decision is. Sometimes, though, when the women want to leave the program, we've learned in the past, and we've had a few of the women who are out in ACP, they'll either receive news of something that happened with a child or a family member, and but most of the time, when that happens, in their opinion, it is something where they feel like they can leave the program. The programs are a non-locked facility. So when I say that, and the walkways that we had were actually employed in the community. So in other words, they were working. One was going to school, and one was working. One had been out there for quite some time. And so I always, you know, we do our best to predict outcomes. Human behavior sometimes takes over, and all we can do is address that behavioral issue at that time. I can tell you that after that had happened with the women, and it was the first time that it had happened on that, but we sent our team down, and we had what I call town hall. We met with each of our CCTRPs. We brought all the women in. When we go down and we talk, I can identify and I know a lot of the participants, but we have heart-to-heart talks. And when I say that, it really is about the community has welcomed us here, and we first off don't want to offend the community, but number 2 is we don't want to destroy a program that will assist somebody else. And I always say, so if it's not working for you at that time, raise your hand, go tap out, come back again, do something different that's working for you. And so what I'm just saying is that we go back and we really try and identify where we have a misstep and how we have that misstep and how we might do something different. But the overall success of the program really has been tremendous. We've had great community support, along with our CCTRP that's going to open in in Stockton. We had letters that were coming in from other sponsors from other areas saying what a tremendous support. The women have been able to go to college. They've holding jobs, about 40 or 50% of them through their phases, get full-time employment before they leave. And so it really is something that is effective. Thank you.
Thank you. And the wonderful thing is for everyone who doesn't come back, we save a lot of money and we keep other people from being victimized because, as they say, as you pointed out, over 95% will be returning and we want them to go back as safe neighbors. Yeah. But you had
So
something
for
else.
the male community reentry, we've had 4 walkaways, 2 in 2015 and 2 this year, this current year. Yes, we did have a walkaway over this past weekend. So what protocols are we doing? Similar to what the CCTRP, we set the tone, we immediately address it. Obviously, when we have a walkaway, it is emergency protocols are taken into place. We're notifying local law enforcement. We are notifying the parole agents to come back to the facility. In this case, this most recent one, he was positive for marijuana and was fearful that he was going to have to go back to prison and just said, I'm not going to deal with this, and walked out the door. In that case, they are on electronic monitoring. When they are on, they're on a pass to go for an appointment or a job interview. They are either supervised at the initial and can go out as long as they're approved. It's fully vetted pass. It's approved by the parole agent, the correctional counselor, and the provider. We have taken measures. We have cameras. It is not a locked facility. We have contract monitors that monitor the entrance and exit. They must sign in and sign out. There must be a cleared pass for them to go out into the community. Obviously, if there are instances where they may have drank alcohol out in the community and they've come back and they say, I feel really bad about it, I relapsed, that would be case conferenced with the provider staff, the clinical staff, as well as our correctional staff there that are on site. I think the important thing is to have a structured environment, that they're busy, that that they're going to their groups, that they are working, that they're going to school. And for the male, it's that last 120 days. And so we take it very seriously. And like in the CCTRP, we want this program to be a success. The other participants do not like when this happens because it puts a bad light, and they don't want this to be jeopardized where it could be taken away.
And I would like to add, our Office of Correctional Safety does an amazing job of finding offenders who've what we would call an escape. We walked away from one of our community programs or our camps, and I think we kind of got ahead of ourselves over here, that we didn't address the camps. But it does happen when inmates are outside of a secured perimeter and they have the ability to just simply what we would call walk away. Our Office of Correctional Safety, and I should knock on wood when I say this, has about a less than 24-hour return rate for the majority of the offenders who do leave our custody. So they do an amazing job.
To expand the time an inmate can spend in the male community reentry program up to 12 months. Doesn't say you have to, but on an individual basis, if it's what's needed to really get somebody off to a start so they won't recidivate, I think would be a good idea. Moved by Senator Bell. Please read the roll.
Madam Chair,
Aye.
Senator Anderson. No. Senator Bell. Aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. And now we did indicate there was interest in a review of the conservation camps, otherwise known as fire camps. Last year CDCR proposed expanding eligibility, but since then has retracted that expansion. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about how under realignment, you're dealing with the population of the camps and keeping them safely and effectively filled.
Thank you. Kathleen Allison will address that. Our camp criteria, we did consider modifying, and as we sat down to review some of the obstacles to getting inmates in our camps, one, we have to do a very, very thoughtful review, because obviously they're going outside of our secured perimeter, and public safety is our #1 area of concern. But we also identified additional barriers within that, and some of them were programs. Inmates, we have such robust rehabilitative programs within our institutions. We were discovering that because camps is a volunteer program, inmates would rather stay in our institutions and get rehabilitative programs, certificates, those types of things upon release. And so one of the efforts that we're focused on is to increase the programming opportunities for fire camp inmates. Obviously, they get fire camp experience, but add additional rehabilitative programs to the camps, college programs, those types of things out in the camps. We've also focused a great deal of energy on contracts with the counties. Currently, we have 12 contracts out there with 12 different counties that are sending us their inmates into our facilities. Pardon me? There are currently 238 inmates from the local counties in our facilities.
Do the
out of
counties
12.
return money that they're saving to you?
That would be a question I'm going to defer to my partner over here.
Oh, well, that was what I meant. Do they?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I believe there's a payment, and we'll follow up with more detail for you. For those that come to us, there's sort of a cost recovery process that the county's paying
I mean,
for.
it just seems like it would be good because we could put it into more rehabilitative activity or the general fund, which needs a lot of money. Thank you.
I'm sorry. So overall, as you know, we have 43 camps in our state with our current population at 3,523 out of our 4,300 beds. So we're very actively trying to work with the counties to increase those contracts. You wanted an overview of how long, what's the eligibility criteria? Very, very detailed evaluation that's done on each and every offender. First of all, it has to be 5 years or less to get into the program. We look at their criminal history, their current sentence. We look at their classification score. We look at their violence history. We look at their escape history. Obviously, no lifers are allowed. No 290 registered sex offenders are allowed. No inmates with an escape history. No active or inactive STGs, and case by case on their specific offense. For example, like robbery second would be allowed, but it's a case by case review. That's done. So, it's all of those factors, that coupled with some exclusionary criteria such as couldn't have ever had an offense of arson, for example. Those are exclusionary criteria that keep somebody from being out of camp. Let's see, they must be cleared for full vigorous duty from medical, and of course that reduces a lot of our population. And they must be able to pass a physical fitness test and to be able to participate on the fire line. Another question that was asked is, do they get jobs with CAL FIRE? Yes, they do get jobs with CAL FIRE, depending upon their specific offense. CAL FIRE, and it shouldn't speak for them, but the data I was able to collect was that certain violent offenses that they will not hire, but they will hire inmates to do wildland fires that are in non-peace officer classifications. Non-peace officers, some of the CAL FIRE staff are peace officers. I do, well, a lot of firefighters are peace officers, so I don't have that exact percentage for CAL FIRE. They are now, right. Mhm. I just don't have the exact number of who've participated in there, but I knew that they do get hired.
The chair voted aye. Yes, he votes aye as well. Okay. And thank you all very much. The meeting is adjourned.